When a plane spirals out of control in a freak storm, three friends must jump to save their lives.
Once that door was open, I just jumped.
Without knowing the fate of his friends, Will Slattery faces a terrifying ordeal. He battles strong currents, the threat of deadly sharks, and of being driven to the edge of insanity.
Death was imminent and very, very close. I first skydived in college. Contrary to what a lot of people perceive skydiving as, a bunch of crazy testosteronic nutbags. You know, it's a very family-oriented sport. It's a beautiful bunch of folks who love the same thing, and floating through the sky, there's nothing quite like it.
Will Slattery and his two friends, Jimmy Simplicio and Manny Sanchez, are on a dream vacation, skydiving in Costa Rica.
Costa Rica is a great place to jump. The sky down there was absolutely gorgeous. It was blue, clear, beautiful. We were all jumping in shorts. It was just amazing, you know, really comfortable skydiving. Just a really good vibe down there. A perfect time away in this exotic tropical location. Jimmy was a really great coach, a really great teacher, a mentor to me. Manny was more of a friend. Manny actually used to wear this big jester's hat. It was quite funny.
Get drunk and do it again, you know? I'm not gonna take my hat off. No.
Will and his buddies have traveled to Costa Rica from California, where they're all members of the same skydiving club.
Elsinore Skydiving School?
You knock yourself out.
Giles Fabris manages the club and checks in with the guys, even if they're thousands of miles away.
Elsinore Skydive Club, Giles Fabris.
About Skydive Elsinore was the family of skydivers that live and jump there. The best group of people anybody could possibly ever meet. Fantastic family atmosphere between the skydivers, it really is.
Well, like me with all this paperwork.
They were going down to Costa Rica to kick back, relax, do some jumps, enjoy the scenery, and generally just have a great vacation with a ton of skydiving in it.
Yeah, all right, you enjoy it. Cheers.
Hey, it doesn't get much better.
Good stuff.
We're gonna chug. Slide back.
Hey, but Bill, please, he's gonna talk.
It's a clear blue skies.
And wind in
Clear
your hair.
blue skies.
Yeah, wind in your hair except for mine.
The next day, Will prepares for his final day's jumping. And as always, safety is the #1 concern.
You check your gear over and over again. I'm probably more anal, so to speak, about that than a lot of other people, but I tend to check my gear several times to make sure that everything's in order. I'm an adventurous person, but I'm in no way a cowboy. I'm not going to do something that's going to kill me. People will tell you I'm quite conservative. If you pay attention to what your gear is doing and where things are supposed to be and keep them where they're supposed to be, it can be a very, very safe sport.
Hey, Will, you almost ready, buddy?
Yeah, man.
All right.
The guys have delayed the day's jump until the afternoon. There's been a storm in the morning, but by lunchtime, the skies have cleared.
Cloud's gonna blow over.
It was sunny, you know, some white clouds, but nothing stormy. Minus the intermittent clouds, things that day looked like they would be just the same as the day before.
Hey, Bradley. What's up, buddy?
So we all started getting our rigs together and getting our gear on to get ready to go skydiving.
Yeah? Good to go.
Ready? Let's go, Jimmy, baby.
The plane we flew down there was a Cessna 206. It was a small airplane, smaller than probably most cars.
All right, my man.
Planes for skydiving are generally, they'll take out the seats. So it's basically an open compartment in the back, and we'll sit back to leg, you know, so kind of sit in a row so that we're packed in there nice and tight, you know.
Okay, blue skies, safe landing.
Fire up, baby.
Camera up. Ready? Yeah.
Nervous, man? You look nervous.
The atmosphere on board is light-hearted.
I was there.
But as the plane climbs, the weather begins to close in.
Within 5 to 10 minutes after we took off, we actually entered the clouds. And from that point on, for probably 20 minutes, we were in complete whiteout, meaning all around the airplane was white. We couldn't see the land, we couldn't see the ocean, we couldn't see anything.
Pretty thick, huh? Breaking.
A little bit unnerving, you know.
Will and the guys hold tight, obeying the golden rule of skydiving.
Skydivers aren't supposed to fall through clouds. It's just a matter of safety because people can get disoriented.
Sorry, guys. I thought we might find a break.
We were expecting at some point to come out above the clouds, but we just never did.
With no break in the clouds in sight, the guys decide to turn back.
Okay, guys. It's too thick.
It's just not worth taking the risk.
We were a little disappointed, but we all skydive a lot, so it wasn't a big deal, you know, we'd get over it. We're used to clouds and, you know, you don't jump through clouds generally, so it was fine.
But as the plane turns and makes its way back to base, they hit serious trouble.
Within 20 seconds after we started going into minor turbulence,
God, I hate this car.
it just got worse and worse.
Okay.
Then the plane started going into massive turbulence. I was definitely not a happy camper, you know. I didn't want to be in a little tiny plane flying crazily all over the sky.
No.
Seconds later, the plane begins to lose control.
The plane is just going haywire. It even started to tilt. I was on the ceiling, I was on the floor, I was on the ceiling, I was on the floor. I was frightened. At that point, there wasn't much we could do except ride it out or jump out.
With the plane now hurtling towards Earth, Will and his friends have no option but to take drastic emergency action.
And at that point, we all started going for the door, trying to get it up. It was the only thing we could do. It took us 4 tries to get the door open because we were being thrown about the airplane so much.
Despite not knowing how high they are and if they have enough time to parachute properly, they dive into the void.
Once that door was open, my butt was out of that airplane. I did not want to be there. I knew that. I trust my skydiving equipment. I trust my parachute, and I did not trust that airplane at that point. I just got out. 5 to 8 seconds later, my automatic parachute went off, which means I was going at a very fast velocity at about 700 feet. We were very low in very low cloud cover, and it was a shock to me. At that point, I looked around for my friends. I saw Jimmy under his canopy as well, going the other way quite a distance off, and Manny was under his canopy next to me, flying parallel to me.
Will is desperate to know that his old friend Manny is okay.
I kept calling out to him to try and get his attention so that we were coordinated on landing. But he never answered. He was just kind of limp, you know. His head was hanging down, and my assumption at that point was that he got hit by the airplane coming out. It occurred to me that he might be dead.
Just seconds after jumping, Will is now hurtling towards Earth at 40 miles an hour, with absolutely no idea where he might land.
The plane crashed in the water behind me. And I looked back and saw the tail of the plane sticking out of the water. I was in somewhat shock at that point.
Will has hit the ocean, still attached to his parachute rig, and he must act fast to avoid drowning.
If you land in water, you want to get your chest strap off so that you can take your gear off immediately and swim under the parachute. At that point, it was really about focus and trying to do the right thing, so if there's a chance of survival, that you survive. It took me 2 or 3 minutes, and that was a pretty scary feeling because you can actually get tangled up in the lines and drown.
On surfacing, Will's first thoughts of his friends. They've also dived out of the plane. One of them, Manny, seemed in serious trouble.
I removed my shirt and my shoes because I wanted to be able to freely swim over and find Manny. I felt the need to act fast because if Manny was unconscious, then it was important to get to him and keep his head out of the water.
Manny! Manny! Manny!
He wasn't answering me. I didn't see his parachute. I didn't see anything.
Manny! Is there anybody there? Don't worry.
So I swam around toward where I thought he would have landed. I didn't even see a lick of him.
With his friends gone, Will quickly has to face up to his complete isolation.
Hello?
I accepted the fact that I was alone in a pair of shorts in the middle of the ocean. There was nothing. The plane went under. I saw no parachutes, no Jimmy, no Manny, no nothing, except ocean.
Stranded miles out in the Pacific Ocean, Will is overcome with a feeling of complete hopelessness. And he can see no way out.
I couldn't see land. I saw no boats. I didn't think there was any way I was going to last overnight in the ocean. If I'm going to die, why couldn't I have just gone in with the plane instead of have to struggle out here until I drown? If there's a chance at life, I'll fight, you know? But if I'm going to die no matter what, why stretch it out, you know? Give me instant death.
Will knows he's landed in shark-infested waters.
Had remembered what I'd known about sharks being able to smell blood and realizing that I was vulnerable in the middle of the ocean. If they want you, they can find you from very far off.
But he begins to replace his fear of sharks for a feeling that they may actually offer him a quick way out.
You hungry?
I didn't want it to be some long, drawn-out process. Like, who wants a long, drawn-out death?
Come on!
Which is why I decided that being eaten would be a much better option.
Come on! You hungry? Ah! Come and get it, come on!
But the sharks don't come, and Will begins to take stock of his predicament.
If I'd been off the coast of the States, there would be Coast Guard and other boats looking for me within a short period of time, but this was a third world country. So I thought, you know, don't be a spoiled American and think there's going to be a boat coming to get you. You have to survive this or not.
Let's just enjoy the view.
Alone in the ocean, with night fast approaching, Will decides to fight back.
I started to have to make decisions about what exactly I was going to do. I had to do something. I didn't want to expend all my energy treading water when I knew that if I just laid back, I could float. The most important thing out there was retaining calm and not panicking, because panic I knew would kill me. Staying calm, and that required a faculty that was born anew in myself that I think I've certainly never experienced before. There's something very pure about the action of trying to live and saying, whatever happens, happens, but I'm going to do my best to try.
The ground coordinator, Tanya Handel, is waiting for the guys to land at the agreed location.
My stomach started to turn when I arrived and there was no skydivers on our drop zone.
Even if they'd landed somewhere else, Milt Burton, the owner of the skydiving school, knows to call her.
Okay, guys, we're all good. Remember, Milt, call me when you land. Blue skies, safe landing. Milt, are you there? Over.
I immediately thought they must have canceled the dive and returned back to the airstrip.
Unable to raise Milt on her mobile phone, Tanya heads back to the airfield.
20 minutes later, there was nothing, no one to be seen at the airstrip.
Out in the ocean, Will has been struggling to stay afloat for 5 hours. His muscles are drawing on emergency reserves of adrenaline. He's beginning to suffer acute exhaustion, and he's in complete darkness.
I could scarcely see my hand in front of my face. It felt like I was in a dark, dark place, a dark world. It was very isolating. I don't think that I've ever felt more vulnerable.
But as he drifts alone in the dark, Will suddenly gets his first ray of hope.
I saw 5 or 6 lights spaced out across the land. I had no idea how far they were. I knew they were lights and therefore human, and I was pretty convinced that was where the land was.
It's the glimmer of hope he's been waiting for, and Will makes for the shore.
I had to go slow, calm, collected, cool. I would do maybe 20 to 30 backstrokes and then stop. It was a great thing I knew where the land was.
Just as safety seems within reach, the undercurrents begin to pull him further out, back to the ocean, and back into the night.
I was exhausted. I was just exhausted. I I saw no actual possibility of me getting out of the ocean alive.
Back at the airfield, Tanya is waiting for the plane to return to base. It's been missing for 6 hours, and there's been no sighting of the aircraft.
Tower, any sign of them yet? Over.
She needs to check the plane hasn't diverted to another airstrip before alerting the emergency services.
We were all just praying that they were sitting in some cantina with no cell service and alive. We were just praying that they were alive. We didn't care where, just that they were alive.
Alone in the ocean, his thoughts turn to the people he may never see again.
I thought about family, about friends, people back home, about Jimmy and Manny, certainly. I wonder how they were. Had they survived the initial landing in the ocean, getting out of the airplane, would they be able to survive the night?
Anybody there?
Ahora mismo. The weather's getting really bad.
On shore, Tanya now realizes that something has gone badly wrong. The skydiving plane has not returned and is missing.
Sí, tenemos que buscarlos. No, listen. Escucha. The plane has not landed.
She knows the plane must have crashed, but the Costa Rican emergency services can't launch a rescue during the night. Visibility is just too poor.
No, not tomorrow. Now, we have to go now.
Panic was going through my head.
I mean, they haven't called me. They always call me.
We didn't know where to even put our energy into looking. Where could they have gone? North, south, up the coast, down the coast, in the mountains, off the coast. We had no idea where to even start to look for them.
Out at sea, Will's been in the ocean for 9 hours. The water temperature has dropped to 45 degrees. He's rapidly losing body heat and dehydrating even further from the effects of swallowing seawater.
As soon as it got to be night, the swells were getting bigger, it was colder, and I was getting more water in my mouth, which I knew eventually over time could be responsible for taking my life.
No search has been mounted, and he's fast running out of hope.
I saw no boats. It was dark. I didn't think there was any way I was going to last overnight in the ocean. No boats, no planes. I'm dead, man. I don't think that I've ever felt more vulnerable. My life, my essence of actually the physical life anyway, was teetering on an edge.
Just when it seems things can get no worse, Will comes under attack from beneath the water.
I realized that I was in a school of jellyfish, and they were stinging me all over my back.
Jellyfish tentacles contain thousands of tiny needle-like filaments that deliver small doses of venom just below the skin.
The pain was excruciating. It was all over my back, my legs, my feet, everywhere. It was extremely painful.
The jellyfish is stinging Will's skin, leaving welts and bleeding sores. The salt water stings him relentlessly.
It was excruciatingly painful. I was crying. I mean, it hurt so badly.
Will desperately tries to escape the jellyfish.
I swam faster to swim out of the school.
But he just keeps swimming into yet another school.
I was, taken aback by the amount of times I was stung by the jellyfish. My God, how much worse can this get?
Come on!
It was excruciating.
The relentless stinging causes Will's mind to wander. What else is in the water, waiting to attack him?
Sharks hunt at night, and do I splash around until a shark comes and eats me? It seemed a horror. It seemed...
And then his worst fears become real. There is something in the water, and it's heading straight for him.
And I saw something floating in the water. And be it shock, I don't know, but I thought, oh, it's crocodile.
As it moves closer, Will is about to find out if a deadly nighttime predator is about to get him.
Thought, oh, great, I'll get eaten and drowned at the same time. I had no idea how far out saltwater crocodiles would swim, and this was too elongated to be a turtle. So I thought, oh, it's crocodile. I laughed, because who would think a log, a tree, is in the middle of the ocean? I was amazed.
After 10 hours in the water, the floating log is a lifeline for Will. His first lucky break since his ordeal began.
I put my arms over it and I floated with it, and was much more thankful to have something to float on rather than just my belly. It gave me a lot of hope that I didn't have before, maybe some chance that this was going to end positively.
News of the accident reaches Will's skydiving club in California.
Giles Fabris here from the club. I know it's late.
His friends fear the worst.
Will's plane's gone missing in Costa Rica.
The first thing I did was the difficult task of contacting relatives and loved ones of the missing. That was one of the most difficult tasks I think I've ever had to do.
Even though they're 3,000 miles away, they do all they can to help.
Your friends have crashed in a plane, it's in a foreign country. The first thing you do is to try and collect as much information on what's actually happening. I had an image of my friends being in the water and their life slipping away in the darkness. That was a very difficult thing to have to think about.
Then they hear that the air-sea rescue operation won't start until daylight.
I don't think anyone's organising a search of the coastline, so we're going to do it, okay?
From their base in California, they try to do all they can to help.
Get in touch with as many boat captains as possible, okay?
We decided that we would start calling fishing boats, calling charter boats in Costa Rica, and to ask them whether they would send their boats out to look for our friends.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
At least I got one boat out.
Will has survived 12 hours adrift in the ocean. He's clinging onto the log for his life, but prolonged exposure to salt water means his muscles are beginning to shrink, and he's suffering extreme fatigue.
The log was giving me something to float on, but I was exhausted. I was just exhausted. I was certain, because of the amount of water I'd ingested, the amount of pain I was in from the jellyfish, and the fact that it had gotten much colder that I was going to die.
"15 hours after crash landing in the ocean, Will has made it through the night.
I did fall asleep on the log. I only know because I woke up on the log. I have no idea when I actually fell asleep. I'm sure it was just through pure exhaustion.
Morning brings with it a tantalizing sight.
It was daylight and I could see the beach.
Oh my God. Oh.
And it seemed like the swells were pushing me toward land almost, and I could maybe, halfway surf the log into the shore, I knew that if I landed right at the right place, there would be a bar right there. I could pull up, I could grab a beer, I could call for a ride, There was a lot of hope at sunrise, my personal sunrise.
It was a long night. We were pulling data from the internet, we were calling the State Department, we were getting very varied sources back. Even when you have news reports that tell you that the chance of survival is very, very small, there's always a little bit of hope.
Hello?
And it's very important that that hope doesn't die. It's a frustrating feeling, knowing that people you love are in a situation and you're many miles away trying to do the best you can.
Yeah, that's what we thought.
When your energy's focused on the well-being of your friends, the hours and the minutes tend to disappear. Time becomes kind of distorted. Everything takes on a rather unworldly feel about it. Becomes a very surreal nightmare.
Will rides the ingoing tides for over an hour.
I wasn't making as much progress as I needed to.
But the tide turns, and the undercurrents begin to work against Will, pushing him back out to sea.
I didn't feel visually like I was closer to the beach.
His only hope is the Costa Rican rescue operation, which is now underway. But the currents have taken him miles from where he crash landed. And the rescue teams are looking in the wrong place. Even if they knew where he was, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack.
Throughout that day, boats and planes and helicopters would just pass, probably just doing their own thing and not looking for me. But it didn't make sense not to wave to it, so I waved a couple times, and then the log would roll over and I'd fall in the ocean. And that was a scene repeated over and over throughout that day. To have other human beings virtually so close, yet literally so far away, both gave me hope and was disheartening at the same time. I realized how insignificantly, physically, visually small I was in the ocean and how virtually impossible it was going to be for any of them to see me.
Hey! Oh, man!
In California, his skydiving friends know that if Will is alive, his chances of survival are now extremely thin.
James, anything?
No. Getting nothing online.
Come on, someone's got to know something somewhere.
Okay, we'll keep going.
Even in Costa Rica, the ocean is cold. The ocean is pulling energy from anybody or anything that is floating in it.
A few boats down that way.
Let me see if I can find what I can online. Get you.
As time goes on, the chances of somebody surviving dramatically decrease.
It's a pretty big chunk of ocean, so our best chance is still the boats. Fingers crossed, yeah, let's keep hassling them.
Since the log was the only thing floating, I wanted to keep it with me. So I would try various techniques of pushing it forward and then swimming along to it and then pushing it forward.
But despite his efforts, Will knows he's still getting no closer to shore.
Initially in the morning when I woke up, I thought by noon I would be on the beach. And later it didn't quite seem that anymore.
Clinging to the log for 13 hours, Will realizes his last remaining lifeline is fast becoming a burden. Instead of pushing him towards land, it's riding the undercurrents and pulling him even further out to sea.
I thought that pulling and pushing the log along was really not increasing my progress. It was giving me something to float on, but it wasn't really getting me toward the shore.
The log that so far saved his life could also end up killing him.
It was the only floating thing I had besides myself. I mean, I'd slept on it. That tree saved my life.
He faces an agonizing dilemma. Should he let the log go and hope he has the energy to reach shore? Or should he hang on, praying for rescue?
I ultimately decided that the tree was keeping me in the same place, that I wasn't making as much progress as I could were I just swimming with my body. It was extremely difficult to let it go. I swam maybe 20, 30 yards away, and then I said, forget this, and I swam back to the tree and was very glad to have it back. To let it go was tantamount to saying goodbye to the one floating thing I had besides myself. You know, it seemed like it could be a very foolish thing to do, to let it go.
You're never gonna make it. Let it go. Just gonna let it go. Come on.
Will's hopes that the log will push him to shore are crushed. Even though he's totally exhausted, he knows he must let it go.
The third time I let it go, I just watched it go over the swells and go away from me.
Having let the log go, and with nothing to float on, Will's energy quickly runs out. He swallowed a dangerous amount of seawater and is now suffering from extreme dehydration.
The biggest threat at that point was my lack of ability to breathe any longer. I was very short-breathed, just and I knew that I could not last very long like that.
The effect of dehydration means Will's blood pressure is rapidly increasing. His pulse is racing, causing severe heart palpitations. If his body loses any more fluid, he could slip into unconsciousness and even die.
I'd taken on more and more and more seawater the whole time, which definitely exacerbated the effects of dehydration, as did the sun coming out, as did simply not having water.
Jesus.
I was thinking that within the next few minutes I was going to drown.
– 3,000 miles away, Will's friends are desperate to find him.
I really wanted to know any piece of information that might give us an advantage in helping our friends. We found basic maps of Costa Rica and we looked at the weather data, and there'd been a large storm in the area. So it really told us that if the plane had crashed in turbulent weather, it had crashed in the ocean.
Now, we reckon with the way the current's going, they may even be further down the coast. We've got boats coming out here, and here.
So far, none of the boat owners they'd contacted has spotted Will. And after nearly 24 hours in the sea, he's running out of time.
When the sun came out, dehydration really set in, and I started hallucinating pretty heavily. I noticed a severe deterioration in my mental state to comprehend reality versus fantasy.
Will has swallowed so much seawater, his kidneys can't flush out the excess salt. His body is gradually shutting down, bringing on hallucinations.
I would think I saw a shark fin over here, and I would look over there and, and think I saw something else over there, and I knew that there were turtles there that can just slice you open and eat you, So those things were seeping in.
Will's ordeal has driven him to the edge of insanity, and his body is ready to give up the fight.
I just felt at that point that I had very little physical and mental energy to keep my head above the water. I had been in excruciating pain from the jellyfish. The swells had picked up. There was more and more water getting inside me. And I just felt at that point like the end was imminent, like it would be a very few minutes off.
He begins to say goodbye to the family and friends he thinks he will never see again.
I felt alone from other humans. I felt that I'd left, the other humans, the other people in my life behind. That part of my existence was over, and that I was going to die, and that I hoped that I'd done well in life, that I'd shown compassion and kindness to people, and that they felt that love, They say that your life flashes before your eyes when you're about to die. And very similar to the night before, I thought that death was imminent and very, very close. I felt that I'd left the other people in my life behind, that part of my existence was over, and that within a very few minutes I would be dead. I went vertical and I thought I saw a boat, but I was by no way sure. My mind was not together any longer. I was hallucinating heavily at that point. Either a boat was there or there wasn't.
Focus well. Focus well. Focus. Breathe. Hello?
I waved to them and yelled in Spanish as loud as I could.
Hello? Hello?
For them to have seen me was unlikely, so I laid back down in the water to await either drowning or rescue.
Having used up his last scrap of energy to wave at the boat, Will collapses in the water and awaits his fate.
I looked up and saw them, and I couldn't believe it at first.
Will has drifted miles from the search area, and by complete chance, he's finally spotted by passing fishermen. He's so close to giving up, his rescues come in the nick of time.
They said, "Come on, get on the boat." And I said, "I can't." I had no strength, And they all reached down, and it was just, I think, as much in shock as I was when the plane crashed.
Oh my God.
just couldn't believe it, you know. It crashed in the middle of the ocean, and my fat, pasty butt made it through 24 hours in the ocean.
When I found out Will was alive, that brought a lot of joy.
Hey, guys. Guys, come here. It's him, look. It's Will. He made it.
Wow, yeah. He made it. Yeah. Awesome. Come on. See?
How did you do that? Oh, look.
He didn't just survive the crash, he survived the crash and he survived the bloody ocean.
I just literally said, oh my God, I'm invincible. And I collapsed onto the boat and held onto this guy's leg until we got to shore. Unfortunately, the search and rescue operation was looking in the wrong places. There were some Costa Ricans that were looking in the mountains. Others were looking in different parts of the ocean. So when they found me, they had a better idea of where my friends were going to be.
A report was made that there were more survivors found. As it turned out, that was misinterpreted information on the radio, and that there were no survivors found.
Over the next few days, the bodies and plane wreckage are pulled from the ocean. Will's friends, Manny Sanchez and Jimmy Simplicio, along with the pilot and remaining passengers, all perished in the crash. Will is confirmed as the only survivor.
Manny was this amazing, almost cartoonish, almost childlike, beautiful human being. And Jimmy really is the same, an enigmatic, amazing character, you know? Kind of a hard ass, but a really beautiful soul at the same time. Did we do the right thing by jumping out? You know, I mean, I did the right thing. Manny and Jimmy did the same thing as I did. We all made the same decision, so I'm comfortable with the decision we made.
After his 24-hour ordeal, Will spent 5 days recovering in hospital. He's still skydiving.
I love skydiving. I've done probably 2,000 jumps since the accident. The airplane was the dangerous thing there. My parachute saved my life.